Do you guys know that sourdough bread is the healthiest type of bread? In fact, because it's naturally fermented, sourdough bread is the healthiest compared to regular white or whole wheat bread. It's not only more nutritious, it's easier to digest and has a lower glycemic index. And it also contains less gluten than other bread. So today I'm going to show you how I make my favorite sourdough bread. It's super easy. There's not any kneading or anything like that. You just kind of get it started, and then you can forget about it for a while. This is my little kitty. His name is Beastie Boy. He was stealing my milk this day. Okay, so what you're going to need is 4 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour. Right here, you're going to see me using freshly ground whole wheat. I basically take red wheat berries and put them in my NutriBullet, blast it for a while till where it's all ground up. So I'm going to add 1.5 cups of that. And then I'm going to add 2 cups of bread flour. If you don't have bread flour, you can just use 2 cups of the unbleached all-purpose flour. So I'm just kind of mixing this in with 2 3/4 cup of water. And then I'm going to add 1.5 cups of active, bubbly sourdough starter. So in the beginning of the video, mine was exploding over the top, and I just knew I had the perfect opportunity to make sourdough bread that morning. This is our dog Cuddles. She's about 12 years old, and she's sweet. She's a good puppy. We tell her that she's in retirement now. She doesn't have to kill anybody anymore. Even though she's not a killer, she's super sweet. Throughout my day, I like to go outside and just look at something pretty. Helps me to de-stress and to just keep going on the project that I'm doing, whatever that might be. Today it's sourdough bread. But if you've watched any of my other videos, we're always doing something. We're building a house. We're trying to build a house anyways. We're still waiting on permits, but getting the property ready to build is quite the task. That's been keeping us pretty busy. And then my husband and I, we own a business. So we do that. And every chance I get, if my husband's at work, then I'm making these videos for you guys. And then I just added in 1 tablespoon of salt as well to this. Here's some basil in my yard. Here's Beastie Boy. He's doing flippies out on the cement. He's very scared of everything, so he's not outside for very long. And I'm just kind of putting it all together, just kind of mixing it with my hands until it kind of forms a ball. But it's not going to look like bread at this point. It's going to look kind of mushy. So you want to cover it. And you're just gonna do these things called stretch and folds about every 15 minutes. So that's where you're kind of grabbing it, you're pulling and folding it over, and then you kind of twist it, grab it, pull it, and fold it over. And at first the dough's really, really sticky, so it's going to stick to your hand still. So a little trick is to get your fingers just slightly wet with some water. It kind of helps your hands not to stick so much. So you're just going to stretch and fold about every 15 minutes. You're going to do that 3 times, and then for about every 30 minutes after that, you're going to do 2 to 3 more stretch and fold. So I just kind of set my timer, do other things, and that way I don't forget, but also I'm not just waiting around in the kitchen because I'll get bored. I just want to encourage you guys, if you guys haven't ever tried sourdough bread or anything sourdough, I do have a video on how to make sourdough starter. If you don't have any sourdough starter, or if you've tried sourdough starter in the past and it just didn't work out, send me a comment down below, and or look in the description, and I'll leave my email address for you. If you want to email me, I can mail you some starter just to kind of get you going. So here I am doing some more stretch and folds, and see how much denser it's getting. It's starting to kind of look like bread now. I just put a little tiny bit of flour on it. You don't have to put flour on it. I just did it because sometimes if your starter is more watery, depending on how you make your starter, I mostly do mine by eye, so I'm not really measuring anything. I just kind of throw in some flour and throw in some water, about equal parts. If you're like me and you don't measure, sometimes it's a little liquidy, and so it'll make your bread a little bit more just sticky. And so that little amount of flour just kind of helps to make it less sticky on your hands. Now I'm just kind of pulling it tight, forming a ball. And then I'm just going to cover it. And this time I'm going to wait until it doubles in size. Right now it's pretty warm here in Northern California. And so it's probably about 74 in our house. And so it took probably about 3 hours or so for it to double. Again, I'm taking a little break outside. There's a few flowers still going. We just had a big rainstorm, and so there's grass shooting up, and I just love how vibrant the green color is. It just makes me happy. And so this is kind of my process. I wanted to show you guys. When you guys do email me or send me a message in the comments below in YouTube, this is how I'm preparing your sourdough for you. So basically I dehydrate a whole bunch of sourdough. In this round, I only did a little bit. I filled up about a small baggie's worth. I'm getting down to the last part of that, and so the next batch that I made was a lot more. It filled up about a gallon size bag, so I have plenty to share with you guys. But basically I dehydrate it so that way then I can send it to you pretty easy in the mail. I don't have any issues with glass breaking or anything like that, or it leaking out. And basically you just, I'll send you directions in there, and it's pretty easy to make it from there. You guys will probably be bread ready in about 4 to 7 days, just depending on the temperature of your house and how consistent you are with feeding your starter. Once it's bubbly, it takes about 4 to 6 hours for your starter to bubble after you feed it. It'll basically rise up with a bunch of bubbles, and then it kind of starts going down in, level wise in your jar. You'll kind of see that, after a while you'll know where you left off when you fed it and kind of the level of the jar. And then maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 hours later, you'll walk in your kitchen and it's almost to the top of your jar. And that's when you know that your sourdough starter is ready for bread. I usually, if I see it like that, sometimes I'll just stop what I'm doing and start this process that I'm showing you today. All I'm doing right now is I cut the one round that I made. I cut that in half, made it into 2 separate loaves, and now I'm just I just put these are just some cloth napkins that I have, and I just sprinkle a little bit of flour in them. So I'm setting them in the refrigerator overnight. I'm going to cover them with plastic, and it's called proofing. You want to proof them for about 12 to 15 hours. So now I'm just getting out some parchment paper. I preheated my oven with the Dutch oven, and I'm using a cast iron pan for my top of my Dutch oven because I don't know where my lid went. I think I broke one of them a long time ago, and then I was using this glass version for a while, and anyways, I don't know where that one went, so I'm just going with it and using my cast iron pan as the top of my Dutch oven. And so you just want to use parchment paper. And then I'm just sprinkling a little bit of flour on top because I'm going to make some designs on it. And I don't have a fancy knife, but I do have a utility knife, so that's what I'm using. Just use what you have, you don't have to buy all the special things. My baskets are from a thrift store. My napkins are legit napkins, so they're not fancy. Doesn't have to be perfect. It'll work with what you have. I just want to encourage you guys that, if you don't have all the things, you might be watching YouTube videos and watching these ladies making these amazing things, and it's kind of hard when you don't have those things. You think, maybe I can't make that until I have all these things. And that's what would stump me for a long time. And so I wouldn't try new things very often because I was like, well, first I gotta buy all these things, and I don't have a super large budget to just go out and buy whatever it is that my whim tells me I want to try. And so, I just want to encourage you, just use what you have. And it's not going to be perfect, but your family will love the bread. It tastes the same no matter what you're using. So basically you want to bake it at 500 degrees for 20 minutes with a lid on. And then you want to uncover it and bake it again for another 20 minutes. And then your bread will be done. And then you just let it sit out and cool. Right now I'm showing you guys a dehydrated starter and how to make that up. So I basically give you guys about a tablespoon of the dehydrated sourdough starter. You're going to add 1 cup of flour and 1 cup of water to it. I always use warm water whenever I'm feeding my sourdough. It just kind of, if your house is kind of cooler, just putting in that warm water, it helps it to kind of warm up. Don't use hot, scorching hot water, but just warm water. And then you're just going to stir it and stir it and stir it. The more that you are kind of adding air inside of your sourdough starter, the faster it's going to react and all work together and start really making those bubbles for you. So after this initial feeding, then you're just going to add a 1/4 cup of flour and a 1/4 cup of water to it every day. Again, with warm water. And then I just, I'm doing it in a bowl right now, but if you can see my sourdough starter on the counter there, I just use a mason jar with a mason jar lid, and then I put a coffee filter over the top of it, so that way it has to be able to have air flow. The airflow is what's going to give it not only its flavor, but it's going to help it to really create those bubbles. So my bread is done. I'm pulling it out of the oven. It almost looks like a smiley face. That's not what I meant to do. This first one, I didn't really like the design at all. I was like, what happened? So the next one, I just tried a different design. That's what's so beautiful about this. It's so easy to just, of course, you're going to eat this bread no matter what it looks like. Your family's going to love it. It tastes great no matter what it looks like, right? Even if you don't design the top, you don't have to do anything. You could just basically cut a line right down the middle, and it just has to be able to expand somewhere, or else it'll crack all crazy, and it won't be as fluffy. But if you add a little bit of design to it, it's just fun. It's just kind of one of those things that you can do, and just lets your creativity flow a little bit. I definitely did not have much creativity in me this day. I was pretty tired, but I was just like, well, I'll just kind of go for it. Doesn't have to be Pinterest worthy. Doesn't have to be showstopper, or just something where just don't put it on yourself to have to make it so perfect. You'll never end up really wanting to try to do anything new. I know that it's caused me to not want to do things that are new to me, because trying something new means that you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, but it's always going to be fun, and it's always good to learn something new. We don't have to be perfect at anything. Sometimes my perfectionism gets the best of me and causes me to not want to do new things. But I just tell myself, you know what, I'm just going to try my best and have fun. That's all that really matters. I've really enjoyed over the last few years just being able to try new things and not be so scared of failing. Because even if you fail, you still have bread, right? Even if you fail, your family is still fed. Failing isn't really a bad thing. I love hearing from you guys, and so I encourage you to leave comments down below, ask me questions, send me an email. You know, I love it. Send me pictures of your sourdough bread. I'd love to see it. And especially if you guys have cool designs and things like that, and you guys just really have that creativity in you, I would love to see those. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.